So let's talk critical race theory, right? Critical race theory 101. That's what we're gonna call this video. So critical race theory is the most racist, degrading shit to black people. You know what I'm saying? Because they trying to paint a history where history for black people started in slavery, like we was created as slaves. Y'all better get the fuck out of here. We don't want to hear that shit, and I don't even like the fucking. And this is out to the black people. You know what I'm saying too, with the George Floyd. They putting statues up for George Floyd. George Floyd, you know what I'm saying? God bless his soul. And he was killed by police, and you know, that was very unfortunate. What happened to him? That shit was fucked up. But let's not forget, right? Uh, you black people was out here fucking putting up a statue for George Floyd, talking about George Floyd Square and all this stupid shit, and putting up big fucking sponsoring big fucking heads of George Floyd, posting them up. Yo, bro, this man resisted arrest. He jumped out of the police car. In case you didn't know, they had handcuffs on him. He resisted arrest, headbutt, kicked, and he threw himself on the floor. And the cop used a bad procedure about putting his foot on his neck when he held him down. He could have sat on him. He could have did anything else, but he put his foot on his neck. That was dead wrong. But this was a criminal that was doing crimes, and that was resisting arrest. So to put a statue up for George Floyd, that means resist arrest, get killed by police, and then you're a hero, you being martyred. Get the fuck out of here. George Floyd do not deserve no statues. I want statues of Malcolm X. Malcolm X. Let's get more statues of Michael Jordan. People that did successful things for the black community, of successful black people. Why do we have a fucking statue of George Floyd, a fucking dope fiend? I mean, whatever he was on, I don't know exactly what, but he was on drugs, a drug addict, and he basically resisted arrest, and then he got killed by somebody else who broke the law. So George Floyd broke the law, right? And then the cop broke the law when he killed him. So George Floyd is not no fucking hero to get no fucking statue. The only reason why they letting y'all coon ass Negroes put up a statue of George Floyd is because they want to remind y'all. When y'all walk by there, they want y'all to remember that you are a victim, or you was a victim to some shit. That's not no shit to put up. That ain't no shit to put up. Y'all don't see the fucking the Jewish people putting up fucking Holocaust victims, pictures of them, murals of them. Yeah, this was a Holocaust victim. We want a picture of them. They talk about the incident that happened, and that's it. Why do black people fall for shit for the liberals? They got y'all putting that racist statue up there. That's a racist statue of a black man that was a criminal and a drug offender. And y'all want people to walk by and look by our children for decades to walk by, look, oh, that's George Floyd. This man was a fucking drug addict that resisted arrest, that got caught with counterfeit money, then was murdered. So he did all those things before he was murdered by the police. Police murdered him. I said it clearly. He was murdered. Put his foot on his neck, clearly killed him. That was wrong on the police behalf. But George Floyd was wrong with every action he took up until that point when he was murdered. So he don't deserve no goddamn statue. That's another slap in the face of the black people. Now, critical race theory. Critical race theory is getting pushed by the white liberals. Not even the redneck whites. The redneck whites, we got to love the redneck whites because the redneck whites love themselves, and that's like we love ourselves. So I love the redneck whites. The liberals are a bunch of mixed people from all over the planet, all of the white. They not home in their country. So they're just branch off people from all these different countries, but they're white. And then you got the black people mixed up in there. So the Democratic Party and the liberals are a bunch of hypocrite Marxists trying to destroy. They know that Marxism destroyed countries and destroyed every country that Marxism was in. So they're trying their best to use Marxism to destroy America, and they're using a black woman to be the voice of Marxism. 1619 Proclamation, that shit got smashed. So now we come to critical race theory. Now, I'm gonna just tell it like this because I got respect for my people, but I got respect for the angelic whites. Now, I'm gonna show y'all critical race theory from the beginning of time. and from a historical standpoint. And I'm gonna show y'all what critical race theory is. Liberal, you know what I mean? No, don't take this offense. Okay, critical race theory. We got to if we're gonna keep critical race theory. Let's go to the beginning. White people lived in caves and couldn't wipe their asses. They shitted on themselves. They didn't have no language, and they didn't know how to take baths. And black people came, and we had to teach them how to wash their ass. We had to teach them how to build houses and stop living in caves and cook their food. We had to teach them medicine. And then they took all of that information that we gave them and they used it against us. That's critical race theory. So we know that and we don't teach that. But we don't want to teach that because that's racist. We don't want to be running around being the black people say, oh, imagine all the black people saying to them, yeah, when we look at the white people, we feel sorry for y'all because I used to live in caves and say y'all used to live in caves and y'all didn't know how to take baths and y'all didn't know how to cook food. Imagine us saying that to y'all. So do y'all want us as black people to be saying to ourselves, yeah, we come from slaves and no, whatever happened when y'all was in the caves happened when y'all was in the caves. Y'all out of that shit, y'all conquered, y'all did this, y'all did that. That's life. That y'all moved on, whatever. Whatever happened during slavery happened, even though half of that shit is fake and they trying to use the same thing like critical race theory to make it go on to make the black people feel suppressed or make the black children feel like they're different or make the black children don't feel the confidence that they have when they're born and when they live it and how they live it. Black children will be confident at a high rate. So this is a confident killer. You understand what I'm saying? I'm almost 50 years old. My parents didn't teach me, oh, hate the white people, hate this, hate that. I had to grow up and I had to learn and I had to see. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm in the black communities. We don't teach racism like, oh, white people, we don't like them, this, that, this. We go to school, the teacher's white. We see the cops is white. So we grew up in a white world where white people was a part of the world. And we know that some of them are good and some of them are bad. So that's actual race theory. You meet people, they're good, they're bad, whether they're white, black. I can meet a black person, they can be bad. I can meet a black white person, they can be as good to me. I know I got white friends, I got black friends. It don't matter. I got black enemies, I got white enemies. It don't matter. I had white people help me, I had black people help me. It don't matter. So critical race theory is a drag. It's a drag. And I want y'all liberals to add in y'all critical race theory that y'all come from caves and y'all didn't know how to wipe y'all asses. Add that to your critical race theory and start from that time period. Go back to the ancient civilizations when y'all didn't have a kingdom, when y'all didn't have anything, and then start from there. And then then y'all don't want to teach that because y'all know that's inferior to the children of y'all generations. Y'all don't want to tell them that, yo, do you believe that we came from caves and we didn't know how to wipe our ass and we didn't know what soap was? Huh? Y'all gonna teach the kids that? Y'all not teaching them that. And we not running around telling people that because that's just something, if you know history, you know. It ain't something for you to be putting in no kids' head. So fucking critical race theory, black people teach your kids that the white people come from caves. They want to teach us that we come from slaves. And 70% of us did not come from slaves because we was Indians that was here, and some of us was over here serving servitude and moved over to the East Coast and escaped slavery. Slavery was predominantly in the South and in on the islands. It wasn't even all over the East Coast. It wasn't prevalent. Racism was, but not slavery. So stop with the slavery. Racism existed longer than slavery. Slavery was a time period for a section of people who was unfortunate and in bad situations, and 70% of the time they was working servitude. Servitude means you working 7 years servitude before you get 40 acres in the mule, or you get your freedom. In some cases, based on the time period you were serving servitude under. Slavery was a term used for prisoners. Who was a prisoner? Why you think the slaves ran away? And they say, oh, runaway slave, because the slave he wasn't a prisoner in a cage. He was free roaming in the land, working in servitude. He lived in his own house there, however the case was. Some people treated them bad. Some people treated their slaves good. Not slaves, they're servitude workers. So history is full of deception, and they want the black people to believe they come from slavery because of racial violence that happened to black communities during the time we was building our communities. White people was coming to the communities, burning them down, lynching us, killing us, accusing us of crimes. That was the racism that was more damaging than slavery. Slavery is more of an insult. You understand what I mean? So they want to push the slavery issue as an insult instead of pushing racism. They was jealous. People we was building the towns, they bombed them. They was jealous. They wanted to fuck the women. They killed the men and raped the women. They don't want to teach you that. They want to teach you, oh, slavery, they had, like we was in chains and this and that. No, the women was working in the kitchen servitude. The men was working on the field servitude. That were slaves. I don't come from a slave lineage, but I know slave history. And the 1619 proclamation is debunked by Beacon's Revolution. And if you go into Beacon's Revolution will tell you that the people of servitude, black and white, formed a small what they call it back then, a militia. And their militia was fighting off natives to expand their land. It was basically land grabbing from the natives, blacks and whites. Because they didn't want to give them their 40 acres and a mule because they said they didn't have enough the land in their mass to give everybody the 40 acres and a mule when their contract came to be, when they was get their 40 acres and a mule. So Beacon's solution was we got to take more land. So Beacon started trying to take the land. You know, look up Beacon's Revolution. It debunks the 1619 proclamation and its critical race theory. Critical race theory is false. It should be noted that the majority of the servitude was broken and turned into slavery because of the kingdoms was having a bidding war over the cotton. One kingdom had captured slaves that was captured on a slit ship working for them so they could stay with selling their cotton in the old world, which would be overseas at a lower rate. And one kingdom was selling it with the tax on it from paying the workers. So the cotton coming from one kingdom, it probably was Spain and England. I'm just hypothetically speaking because I'm not looking at my notes. Spain and England was having a bidding war over cotton. And whoever had the cheapest labor was selling their cotton for a lower price and was getting all of the business. So both sides was trying to get cheaper labor, looking for ways to get cheaper labor. The Jews basically capitalized on it by going into Africa, buying combatants of war, people that was prisoners of war, and saying, hey, we buy your prisoners of war, and was taking them out. And then this caused problems with rival African villages because they knew that, hey, if we go take our enemies and we go raid them and we kidnap them and we can sell them off. So African tribes was going after other African tribes, which was their enemies, or smaller tribes, and kidnapping them and bringing them to the slave coast shores and selling them to the Jews. The white people didn't go in Africa and capture slaves. They didn't never have that power. The gun wasn't invented like yet. The gun was barely invented. So they wasn't doing that. The Africans was catching other tribes that they was rivals or selling their combatants of war to Muslims, and Muslims were selling it to the Jews, and the Jews was bringing the people to America, and that happened for a certain time period. All right? So if you don't know history and you needed to know that history is there. So all this critical race theory is people who's trying to take away, they trying, like, all right, basically, we did come out of an era of racial oppression on black people. But that time ended around 2005, 2006, and everything was changing. The only thing that is changing now is the criminal justice system. So that's why they're trying to point their finger. The criminal laws is against black people, which is true. But black people don't go to jail with a high rate no more. We stay out of trouble until these days now when they brought the gun violence back up. So now all of the laws was in the critical race theory, they're going to try to lean more, the laws is against them because the laws are against black people. But that thing was changing, just like the equality changed, the quality level for black people changed, and the standard for black people changed in the workplace, respect among people, respect in public, all of that changed. We had everybody getting along. So this critical race theory would not affect our generations because we already know know how to move, we know how to act, we know who to be around. But it will affect our children. You understand what I'm saying? And ultimately for the black people, it will not be a good thing. They trying to make a thing like it will be bad for the white people. Oh, y'all want the white people to feel guilty. They, even though you're trying to make them feel guilty, they actually not gonna be feeling guilty. They're gonna feel proud. They're gonna feel like warriors. They're gonna feel like they're strong. They're gonna feel confident, and they're gonna feel like they have to be judgmental to their counterparts, which is lesser than them. Get the fuck out of here. That's not even the case. Both races are equally skilled in anything that any individual put his mind to. Any individual is great. Any individual is flawed. We can have bad people. We can have good people of all spectrums. It ain't no one race, this race, that race. And far as situation, black people don't care about their situation over a white person's situation.